let's start this out with just a brief description. I'm about to work on some glycol units, okay? Or power pack units, beer line chillers, a couple different names. The primary purpose of these units is to keep the beverage lines, or beer lines in my case, cold from point A to point B, okay? You have a beer walk-in that stores 34-degree kegs of beer, okay? But then, you know, across the building, you have beer taps in the bar. And when they start pouring the beer, all of a sudden the beer starts foaming and it's warm, okay? So what they have to do, the problem is that those beer lines are running from the beer walk-in all the way to the taps, and they're warming up, whether or not they're running through the attic or down through the underground. Either way, we have a power pack or a glycol unit that's essentially going to take like polypropylene lines, some kind of plastic lines, and it's going to wrap around the beer lines, and it's going to keep them chilled from the beer walk-in to the taps. So that way you can maintain a nice proper pour coming out of your beer taps, okay? Basic understanding of how these beer glycol units work, I should say, okay? And also some context. There's two parts to this video. This was actually two different service calls. The first part was in September of 2020. I got a service call on these glycol units, and I made a repair, and it had some good quality footage in it, but it wasn't enough to make an entire video. So I actually just sat on it, didn't do anything with it. Flash forward to February of 2021. I got another different service call on the same unit, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to put these two videos together. So there will be a break. You'll see the first repair on the first service call, and then you'll see the second repair on the second service call. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense for you. This video is brought to you by Sporlan. Quality, integrity, and tradition. We are back on this glycol unit. I've been talking to the customer for a while, and they decided to go ahead and let me change out both of those pumps and pump motors. If you guys can recall, this is the one that was frozen up and the glycol was really dirty. I had a call on it again recently, and what I found when I got here was, is a long story short, but the customer had shut the unit off trying to defrost it. And what they did was they shut off the pumps instead of shutting off the condensing unit. So when I came, they turned it back on thinking they defrosted it. The unit was now frozen up because the condensing unit had been running without pumps. So I had to come out, do a proper defrost on it, which essentially just turn the condensing unit off, let it sit for about an hour with just the pumps running. But again, I told them that the pumps are going bad, and they decided to go ahead and let me do it. And then when I'm done tomorrow, they're gonna get the beverage people out here to change out that nasty glycol too. So it's also interesting that the glycol is not as bad now, and they also had someone come out, supposedly they already changed the glycol, but when I came out when it was frozen up, this stuff was black again. After the pumps get really hot and stuff, it just turned complete solid black. So it's interesting that once it's been circulating, it clears up. So hopefully after changing these pumps and then changing it one more time, it'll eliminate this problem. Now these pumps have MX conduit running all the way into there, and it's super tight, so that's going to be a chore to get that out. But I think the easiest way is going to be to unhook it completely from here and pull the whole pump and motor out, you guys. And also, I mistakenly call these things pumps. This is the motor, this is the pump, but the whole assembly I just call it a pump, so forgive me. You guys know I'm really bad with names of things. That pump came out rather easy with the conduit, like I said, still attached. That'll make that easy. This one's a little bit more difficult. What I have is a little finger CHINGUS bit that will accept a 1/4 inch little guy like this. I got it from Kmart many years ago. I don't know where you can get it from now, but I got a 1/4 inch socket on there. You can also put a, I got a 1/4 inch ratchet, but you can put a socket wrench on there too. But that'll help me to get that in there, and then I can get it on the other side too. So sometimes these little tools, they save your life. I think you can still get these at Sears if there's any that are still open by you. I'm sure now that Lowe's has picked up the Craftsman line, you might be able to get it at Lowe's now too, because it's a Craftsman thing. It's a 41380 is the part number on it. It is so much easier doing this out here and then just having this to hook up inside. And the fact that we have a ground ran in here, we're not going to need this chassis ground right here. So I'll be able to just use the brackets. So long as we've got this as a dedicated ground right here, we're good, and the unit's grounded, so we'll remove that chassis ground. And then like I said, so that way I can just use the existing bracket. There's nothing worse than missing one thing. I needed Teflon tape. I didn't have any in my van. I had to go to the hardware store just to get Teflon tape. Seems silly. All right, motors are installed. I don't have them wired in yet. We're gonna do the swap out on the pumps now. I've got a bucket over here. Usually what I'll do is do it over a bucket because you are gonna get some glycol leaking out. Hopefully I can get these ones off. I personally do not have the tool that does these special little crimps. So we got to be able to twist it off, but it looks like there's a hose clamp on that one. Hose clamps aren't ideal, I know, but that's what's already on there, so that'll be easy because I'll be able to undo that and then twist that one off, and it's the same for this one. There's the crimp fitting and then a hose clamp. So if they were both crimped, then it would be a little bit more difficult unless you can actually twist the line. It's just one of those things. I don't do enough beverage work to justify buying the tool and all the clips and stuff, so sometimes you got to get creative. So this line is got positive fluid coming out of it because the reservoir is above it, so it's coming out at a pretty good pressure. So I was able to shove my pin in there that has a rubber end on it until I can get the other side swapped out, then get them put on. If I put it on the pump, you know, if I just screwed that side into the pump, it would still come out the other side of the pump. So silly stuff you got to do. All the insulation was extremely saturated, so I ripped it all the way back to this point right here, and I'm going to re-insulate everything. But this also gave me an opportunity. I dried everything up really good, and then I've been letting it sit for about 10 minutes to make sure that I don't have any leaks. I'll probably go ahead and hook up the electrical and bump it too before I insulate it, just to make sure that we don't have any leaks. All right, let's hope nothing blows up on me. I can safely, is that safe? Yeah, that's safe to be down there. So let's go ahead and turn one on. We're allowed to run 6.1 amps. That one's good. Okay, and then I need to switch it over to the other one now. Here goes the next one. I don't know why it's making that rattling sound. Something's wrong there. There's nothing wrong with the pump, or the motor. I think it's just the way that it's connected or something. But it's not overamping, so I'm gonna see if it quiets down. Yeah, there's something wrong with that pump. I can't get it to quiet down, so I have another one at my shop, and I have someone bringing me another pump right now. We'll have to take this one back. When I pull it apart, I'll make sure there's nothing stuck in it, but I don't want to pull it apart until I have a new pump on me, just in case. So I went ahead and insulated everything as best as possible, except for that. Turned it on so that way we can bring their beer temperature down. But that glycol is nasty. Again, it's after you turn it back on. All the stuff eventually will settle, but they need to get that stuff purged and cleaned and whatever. The life lesson for you. When I did these, I missed some crap. Okay. I missed that. I swear that I know I pulled them out of both of them, but for some reason there must have been more shoved in that pump. So hopefully that was the noise. I have the other pump, but I don't think I'm gonna need it. So always got to double check that stuff. It happens to the best of us. Hey, what do you know? It's whisper quiet now. All right, cool, good stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and insulate that guy up, and hopefully we can be done with this. Back on and running, almost down to temp. And I wanted to point something out. To be clear, these pumps, they come with this little foam crap in them to keep stuff from getting stuck inside the pump. And I pulled some out, but either it ripped or there was two in there, I don't know. Because I saw some lying around, like a little piece of one, so maybe I just didn't get it all. But okay, so this pump is still good, nothing wrong with that. And I'm gonna start cleaning up all my messes and then give them the go ahead to get the people out here. And so I need to make sure that I let them know. When I got here this morning, that was clear, but it's when you shut it off and let it sit for a few minutes and then turn it back on, it turns to pure mud. So that's what they need to understand. I don't want, I got to make sure I let them know when the people get here, don't just pour glycol in there and say it's fine. Like, they need to drain it, flush it, and redo it. But now we got new pumps, insulated all nice and good, no leaks. Things just about down to temp. All right, so that was the end of the first service call, and we're going to go ahead and transition to February of 2021 at this point now. Hey, check it out, we're back. We've got a glycol unit. They're complaining that one of their glycol units isn't working. So I climbed up here. and it has no power, and I can hear this one running. So they're saying that half their bar is not working. I'm gonna turn off the power switches because it's plugged into that, and go see if I can find a breaker that's tripped. More than likely we're gonna have a tripped breaker. Well, I couldn't find a breaker tripped, so we're gonna get in here and measure voltage. We'll measure it here first. We'll open up this, see if we've got voltage in there. I went through every breaker panel, nothing was tripped. That's interesting. Using the non-contact voltage, this guy has power. We've got no display or anything. Of course, I'm gonna verify with my meter leads, but that was just a quick check. So I don't see anything funky going on. Gotta be careful because we could have wires that are loose. In fact, what we're gonna do is, because it's a plug over there, we're gonna go ahead and unplug it, so that way we don't make any fireworks happen while we're moving wires around. It's also disconcerting that this is flexing as I'm stepping here on this wood. Alright, unplugged it now. So now we can come over here and play with this and see if we can find any loose wires or what. Here, I'll pull all these covers off. So I loosen this, and there is clearly burnt electrical in here. It's a very strong smell coming out of here. Again, we have power disconnected, so we're safe. So let's move some stuff around. Oh yeah, there you go. We've got some burnt wires down on this switch right here. This is burnt. It's toasted. So we're gonna open up that switch compartment a little bit more. So yeah, that's interesting. Look down here. Looks like an electrical short burnt the wires, burnt a hole in the temperature controller. This thing's toasted. Looks like maybe it started at that switch. And I bet you if you follow incoming voltage, it like probably jumps from switch to switch, and that's probably why we lost power completely. It's hard to say exactly what caused this. I guess it could be the contacts in the temperature controller shorting out too. But something caused something to get really hot and it melted everything in here. But it's interesting though, because if you look at, again, remember everything's off. These are pump switches. It's not even the compressors that's burnt, like the switch. So I don't know. I think it might have been a pump switch overheating, maybe a bad switch or something back in there, and it melted a hole in the temp control, is my thought. So yeah, here's the culprit. So main power comes in on this cord, jumps to this wire right here, and it goes from control to control, but this wire's right here. So that's why this whole unit lost power. But these wires are just, these units have probably been overheating because they're super brittle. So we're gonna have to do like a big epic rewire on this thing, get a new Dixel controller, and hope that there's no other issues. Alright, I got a new Dixel controller, and I brought some wires and my wire connectors. I'm thinking that these switches might still be good because the burnt wires are only on the line voltage side of the switches, not the load voltage. So we're gonna see, but I'm gonna start by replacing the Dixel controller and then just doing the wiring one at a time. I'm thinking, the more I think about this, that we just had a loose connection on this one incoming wire for from here, you know, and then it started the daisy chain going to every one, and then that caused an overheat situation that melted. Because it's not the, it doesn't look like it's the contact portion that's burnt, and it's not down here. So we'll see when we get it pulled apart. So when I got in here, the bottom of these switches, they are pretty brittle. So we're gonna bypass the switches temporarily, is what we're gonna do. Yeah, they don't look good. So we're gonna go ahead and order all new switches, but I'm gonna bypass them for now and then hopefully get this thing up and running. All right, I ended up having to use a giant wire nut because I got a lot of stuff going into that. Again, this is just temporary. That's all my hot wires. My neutrals are still just using a jumper, or my common, still just using a jumper. Everything else looks good. I don't see any problems. And again, I think that we just had a burnt wire. See, because they use these jumper connectors, and I think they just had a loose connection, would be my thought. I don't see any other reason. See this temp control, it's not actually burnt in the relay, it's just the top of the control. So I think it was just that loose wire heating up, broke the wire off. I'm surprised it didn't trip the breaker though. That's kind of crazy. Well, let's turn it on and see what happens. Let's ready, 1, 2, 3, hope nothing blows up, right? Connector looks fine. we go. It's running. It's dirty. Get the blower. It's been a couple months since I was last here. 65 degrees, compressor's running. Both pumps are running. We'll get currents on everything. Start by verifying proper power. 117 volts incoming. And then now we just need to get current draws off of everything to see if we're overamping on anything. After the last time I worked on this, I replaced 2 pumps on it. I told them they had to get the glycol company out to change all the glycol. And they did. It looks good and clean now. So that's a plus. Got good flow. Okay, so let's go ahead and check the current draw. So that's the temp control, no biggie. That is a pump. We're allowed to run 6.1. We're running 5.3. That is the condensing unit. It's running 11.73 amps. And its RLA is 10.5, but it is under a heavy load, so I'm going to give it some time to come down. And then the last pump is running 5.2, and they're allowed to run 6.1. So I don't see a problem with the pumps. They're running good, moving fluid. It might be hard for you guys to see, but that's the sight glass right there, and it's clear. I don't see the need to put gauges on this unit or anything. The only thing I really need to do is we're going to order these switches just out of a precaution, and I need to set the Dixel control. Because it's a universal control, it automatically has defrost built in, so I have to go into the parameters and delete the defrost and then set it up for the right differential and everything. We're going to set this guy at 27 degrees with a 3-degree differential, probably, maybe 4 degree. So they send a crappy, like not even a manual with these controllers, but the cool thing is on the back side there's a QR code, so if I just hover over that with my camera, it'll take me to the full manual to set this guy up. So we'll do that right now. Alright, I just set the defrost setup so that way it doesn't defrost at all. Put a 4-degree differential, set it for 27 degrees. Pumps are doing good. Temperature's coming down. We're going to give it some time. I'm going to watch it go ahead and drop to make sure everything is good. But the sight glass is still clear. Condenser's not dirty. Filter's a little bit dusty, but yeah, it's doing good. So yeah, we're just going to watch it. Alright, it's taken quite a while to come down to temp, but I still don't think there's anything wrong with it. We're still running a clear sight glass. I'm going to tell the customer, or give the customer a quote. I want to replace those 3 switches. We're going to go ahead and get those thermometers replaced too, and then go from there. One thing that I will tell them is if they want to serve beer right quick, what they can do is clear the tap lines. So these tap lines look like they're going underground somewhere. I don't know where. The beer walk-in's over there, so it goes into the beer walk-in and then comes back, probably on this one. If they clear all the warm beer in those lines, then it'll come down to temperature even faster. So they run like 1 or 2 pitchers, maybe 3 pitchers of each beer on the tap system. They can clear out the warm beer and then, you know, theoretically bring the cold beer from the walk-in directly into the lines, and it'll help to bring these temperatures down. But as it stands, this unit can have been down for who knows how long, a couple days, I don't know, because they haven't been able to be open due to the restrictions right now. So these lines could be nice and warm inside. Hey, I'm back. And we don't even have the parts yet. It's only been like a couple days, and we got another service call for a glycol unit not working. So come out thinking that this one was going to be down, and no, it's not. Now it's the other unit, but there's just a bunch of mass confusion. So when I walked up, you can see the unit's clearly frozen up to the compressor. One of the pumps was disconnected. Unfortunately, this pump's not hooked up to the switches, which is a nightmare. And so the story goes is that they had some beers freeze, or actually ginger beer, which is high water content. It froze, more than likely because the restaurant's not open and they're not using it. And the temperature of the unit just sitting there probably froze the tap or something, who knows, I don't know. But they called their beverage company, and the beverage company told them to unplug everything. It's just a massive lack of communication because you've got too many managers, and it's not one manager's fault. You know, the beverage company should do better than to tell them just to unplug these units to defrost them. And I just had a conversation with the general manager on site and told him from now on, you don't unplug the units, you just turn off the compressor to defrost it if it is frozen up. See what happens sometimes, I've come up, and it wasn't the case here, well it kind of was, but they realized that it wasn't so they were unplugging the units, you know, again, because this unit's not wired right. I should fix that for them so that way it makes it less confusing, but it's just a lot of miscommunication, and this is just, you know, one of those things. So what I did was shut off the compressor when I got here, turned on both of the pumps. So again, one of the pumps was not running, so more than likely has something to do with it freezing up. So we're thawing everything out. There was no glycol flowing when I got here. Now it is flowing, so it's thawing the lines out. We're gonna let it keep running, and then we'll turn it on. I'm sure it's gonna work fine, judging by the ice right there. The refrigeration circuit's working. So as far as I know, this unit is still 100% minus the switches that we bypassed. So I turned the compressor back on. We got good flow, and the glycol temperature is 65 degrees, which is what the thermometers are saying. And the sight glass is clear. See if I can get you guys in there. I don't think I can, but the sight glass is clear, so I don't see a need to put on service gauges. So we're gonna let this guy run, see it drop in temp, and then go from there, check the set points, make sure it's actually shutting off, that kind of stuff. Because I'm assuming that the reason why they only had one thing that was frozen, and it was their ginger beer. It wasn't an alcohol, it was just ginger beer. So my assumption is because they were closed for so long, they went to go finally use it, and the super high water content of the ginger beer probably couldn't withstand the low temperatures that we get these units. We usually set them for 26, 27 degrees for the glycol temperature. So more than likely that contributed to the freezing of the tap, and I bet you there's nothing wrong with the units in general. But then the way that they reacted via talking to the beverage company, which should know better, telling them to shut them off and, you know, all that good stuff, led to, I'm assuming, this problem we're having. I am back again. Hopefully we're going to finish this up today. So we've got all new switches, new thermometers down below, all new switches for this one. I ordered them because the switches are flickering on and off. Better be safe than sorry. I did some research too. These units are just, I think they're just at 10 or 12 years old. So these things are pretty old, but they're still in decent shape. And then we're also going to repair that pump wiring. That pump, we're going to get rid of it being plugged into that receptacle. We're going to wire it back into the switches. And then I'm going to come up with an action plan for the customer, because the customer will occasionally come up here when they have freeze up situations or whatever. You know, the beverage company will direct them, and the beverage company's been giving them that false information. So we're going to direct them on how to properly shut these down if they do run into a freeze up condition. Basically just shut off the compressor and leave the pumps running. So I'm going to come up with an action plan for that too, but hopefully I got all my stuff and I don't have to go up and down. I'm currently recovering from a pinched nerve. Probably shouldn't be back to work today, but I was going stir crazy, so I figured I could do this one job. The hardest part about this was getting my bag up here, which I am going to more than likely come up with a lighter bag. I'll still keep that one, but it's just going to be some situations where I'm not going to use that. But yeah, so we're gonna get pulled apart. I gotta get power turned off on this one because I bypassed the switches. I gotta unplug them. So getting ready to push this back in. So what I did was I grabbed all the wire that was damaged, cut it back, and or replaced it. Also got rid of the piggyback connectors as much as I could. There's still some on the neutrals, but there's no more room on this little terminal block. But up here on the hot leg, I had plenty of room on the terminal blocks. So I took off the piggyback connectors, you see right here, and then just ran individual wires to the terminal block. We're going to slide this back in, and then we're going to change out those thermometers down there. I'm at the point where I'm going to plug this guy in and hope that I didn't screw nothing up. Okay, nothing blew up yet. Gotta step over here, see what we have to say here. Digital displays both work, that's a plus. I didn't wire something right. Well, no, I didn't wire something right because the temp control is not calling. So I gotta open this up and figure out where that error is. And the lights aren't turning on those switches, so I still need to figure that out. But these work, so that's a plus. But the compressor, we need to figure that out and why that Dixel's not turning on. Well, I opened it up and this neutral right here, which is the main neutral for the unit, had come loose. So I'm pretty sure that's my only problem. So I put a new connector on it, so it's a lot tighter, and everything else looks to be okay. So we're gonna fire this guy back up and see if it works. All right, now we're actually powered up. So we're gonna wait. Oh, the snowflake already turned on. So when I turn this on, compressor turned on, condenser fan motor turned on, the light is illuminated. Pump 1, light is illuminated. Pump 2. So all of our lights are illuminated. I'll show you guys. You can actually see. That way we can give the customer proper direction on how to maintain these things now. We're gonna watch this thing come down to temp. Notice they're both dropping pretty quick. That's good. And then I'm gonna get working on this unit over here, changing the switches and redoing that electrical for that pump while this one's coming down. All right, for this one, the switches are flickering. It's probably not showing up on the camera, but they're flickering on and off. And I had pulled them apart and they looked like they were just, you know, kind of starting to overheat. So we're changing them out of precaution. Of course, the customer was made aware of all of this and they made the decisions. But the other thing is this right here. This power cord goes to one of these pumps. When someone had changed one, they didn't wire it back in. We're gonna wire it back in so that way we don't have any issues with that. So, all right, got this guy pulled apart, got power disconnected. This one's even easier because there's a connector right there. I mean, super easy. So I just got a strain relief connector right here. Boom, I'm just gonna cut the existing cord right here, use that same cord, run it right into that, and wire it into the switch. Easy peasy. Don't see an issue with that at all. You can see where it went to the switch right here before. This unit, by the way, too, I can tell is a lot older. Judging by the serial number, I think this one might actually be 12 years old, and I think the other one might be 10. 2007, I think. You can also tell, like, it has 1/4 inch screws all on it instead of 5/16, and the color scheme is different. I think it's an 07. I guess I can look at the compressor. No, it's a 2013. This is a newer unit. Okay, that's an older unit. This is newer. I was looking at the compressor. So this says 13 and that one says 13. So I thought this was a perfect thing to show. When you're doing electrical connections, you got to watch out for flyaways. Look at that. There's a flyaway there. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. Okay, that right there is an electrical short waiting to happen. See how the connector went in, but there's a single strand of wire. So you gotta watch out for those flyaways. Make sure you get a good twist on it and always inspect the wires as you're doing it. That way, like this one is done, no flyaways. These Kinepix pliers are working really good right here for doing these switches, because you gotta click both sides of these little chinguses that hold them in, and the Kinepix are able to get in there and get on both sides and pinch it at the same time. Win for the Kinepix for sure. All right, that was the test. One pump, 2 pumps, and compressor. See what happens. There we go, turned on. All right, as I'm leaving, in 2 places, so this is my ladder right here. When I come up the ladder, I wrote 2 notes. Number 1 right there, basically telling them if the units are freezing the beer lines, only shut off the red switches on each unit. Do not shut off the green switches. And then I also wrote it right here. Okay, these guys, like I said, they'll regularly have the beverage company come in here and or they'll call the beverage company before they call me if they're having beer issues, and the beverage company will walk them through issues. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because the beverage company doesn't know what type of units they have or what, but for whatever reason, I've come out one too many times at several locations and found only the pump shut off and not the compressors. Then the glycol units will freeze up, they flood back to the compressor, cause issues, that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm trying to prevent here. So I'm also going to instruct the management about these issues, and hopefully between all these notes and letting the management know, maybe they'll stop this. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be too worried about it because I get to sell them a compressor. But again, I like to treat these customers like this is my own equipment, and I want them to feel comfortable and have trust in me. So it's things like this, me trying to educate them and instruct them and coach them on how to, you know, handle their own equipment, in my opinion, makes me look better in their eyes. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on the matter.
All right. You know, the trust with the customer is such a big issue to me. Okay. I value my customers' trust so much, and I really, really want them to have, to feel comfortable when I come out to service their equipment. So it's taking them by the hand and walking them through some things to save a service call in the future, or to save from themselves damaging their own equipment. Okay. Yeah, sure. If they continue to do the things that they do and turn the machines off the way that they do, and, you know, turning just the pumps off, they're going to flood out the compressor, and they're going to, you know, ruin the compressor. And yeah, I'll get to sell them a new compressor. But guess what? That sale, you know, that profit from installing a compressor one time is nothing compared to continued relationship with my customer over the next 5, 10, 20 years if I'm lucky. So keeping that trust, being honest, and having integrity, and just treating them like, you know, they're me, like it's my mom or something like that, right? You know, I want them to take care of their equipment, so that way, yeah, of course things are going to break, and I want them to call me for that. But if I could give them some advice to prevent them from breaking it or damaging it, then I'm going to do that. Okay. So, 2 service calls in this one. The first one, the pump issues, and you guys saw my mistake with the pump. I accidentally left that little foam piece in there, and that's why it was making noise. So, you know, we got to look further. We don't just slap it in there and walk away, because likely they would have had an issue with that. Okay. And forbid that foam got, you know, pushed up into the glycol lines. That would have been a nightmare, right? Because how could someone actually clear a line if that little pump got, or that little piece of foam actually got pushed into that line? That would be a nightmare. Okay. But mistakes happen. We learn from it. I probably won't ever make that mistake again. You know, always double check. We also changed in the second service call, we also changed the switches, the temp control. Now, I don't think anything really was wrong with the temperature controller other than the housing got melted, but I don't know what damage potentially could have happened because of that. I feel like the temperature controller was melted because of a faulty electrical connection up on the switch right above it. So I feel like the damage really was on the switch overheating, probably because of a loose connection. You know, that'd be my assumption, because of those little piggyback connectors. I tried to eliminate as many of those piggyback connectors when I went back in as possible. There was still a few, but I tried to move the wires over to a junction terminal strip up, you know, inside there. Also changed those thermometers. The manager was really happy about me changing the thermometers, because they use those for troubleshooting, you know, so when they have a problem with the glycol unit, if they're going to call me or the beverage company, they like to go up there, you know, corporate procedures, they go up there, check everything, and they're like, hey, you know what, one of the units is high in temp, but if they don't have those thermometers working, then it's kind of hard for them to do that. Okay. You know, again, I stress enough about leaving the notes. That's so important, you know, when possible. Of course, I'm not going to, you know, that's an area where nobody's ever going to see that. You have to climb up into there, open a door. So it's not like I'm marking on the walls was going to be a big deal. That's actually doing them a service. Try to clean up after myself every time I go up in there. I think I've shown in videos before when I first started going to this customer, it was just a mess up there. There was crap everywhere. And, you know, I like to treat it like it's my own, you know, really try to take care of it. I really, really appreciate you guys making it to the end of this video. Leave me some feedback down in the bottom, like I already asked you to in the beginning. And again, I mentioned in the beginning, check out my website, hvacrvideos.com. Hats, shirts, all that good stuff on there if you guys are interested in supporting the channel. Okay. Remember, I do live streams on Monday evenings at 5 p.m. Pacific on YouTube. Work and injuries permitting. I'm still fighting this pinched nerve, but it's getting better. I can move my neck again. I'm, you know, able to do a few things. I'm just really sore. I'm still on medication, but been seeing the chiropractor too. So it's getting better, you know, just a slow process of working through it. Also, live streams, Friday evenings about 6:05 p.m. with my buddies on the HVAC Overtime YouTube channel. So definitely come check that out too. Okay. Hey, that's it. And we will catch you guys on the next one. All right.